This is a recording of what my backyard currently looks like. ITC is supposed to come out and attempt to prove that they engaged in what they will allege is selective vegetation removal. Most normal human beings, the definition of selective would mean that you select, meaning that you choose some and don't choose some others. I don't think this comports with the meaning of selective, nor do I believe that their easement gives them rights to engage in wholesale removal of every piece of vegetation. That defies the word selective. So we'll just walk my property line here, which I can't do right now because there's currently a giant pile of wood along my property line. That wood being all of my former mature oak, hickory, and maple as best as I can recall. I didn't realize I needed to catalog my foliage. The other thing that's rather curious about this so-called selective vegetation removal is that you'll notice that the giant brush hog that they brought through to destroy everything in its path was not used to destroy everything in the path directly underneath their own power lines. As we walk closer, again, you'll see more and more piles. We have absolutely no privacy left in our yard whatsoever because all of the little shrubs and bushes that were along our property line were completely destroyed by their giant brush hog machine. For example, you will see this sapling trunk. Here's my hand for a point of reference. I'll zoom it out. So it's a little larger than the size of the palm of my hand. So that would have provided privacy for us, as well as all of the shrubs that are no longer there. You can see just remnants of twigs. One of the other things that's curious here is that there's a couple of curious things. So I confronted the tree cutting crew when I made the other video showing the operation of their giant brush hog tree machine. And you'll notice that this tree here has a vertical line of blue paint on it. If I walk down the hill towards this tree, I'll put my forearm up against it. It's a line of blue paint about the length of my forearm, and it's approximately 5 feet up the tree because it's about eye level with me. That was the notice that ITC gave to me and all of our neighbors. We were just supposed to magically, inherently know that an imaginary north-south line was being drawn through this tree, and that everything to the west of that imaginary north-south line would be completely clear-cut. You'll notice the total disarray left in the valley between our house and Dominic and Julie's house. They just cut down the trees and just left all of the wood for somebody else to clean up. Apparently that wasn't their job. The other thing that they did, you'll notice here, that black wire is my invisible fence line that I had run in November after the ground was already too frozen for the invisible fence people to trench. Again, a line run on my own property. And so instead the invisible fence guy tied the wire to various little saplings that were here. Here's a sapling. The diameter of the trunk is less than the diameter of my finger, so a fairly small little sapling, but nonetheless a sapling that was on my property. And he suspended the line, very well marked, clearly an electrical line. And in their selective behavior, the ITC folks selectively decided to chew up our invisible fence line along with everything that's in its path. You will notice over here as I leave my property and wander over to Miss Ellie's property that the machine that they used left what I will call tree shreddings. It's just completely chewed up chunks of trees. Backyard's pretty much unusable. You obviously can't grow grass on top of all of this chewed up tree nonsense. You certainly can't enjoy your backyard with a obstacle course of giant tree trunks laying all over. And oh, but look, wait, here, look what I see. I see a sapling that was not destroyed. I wonder how they selected to save this one. Oh, I see. That sapling's directly underneath their power lines. So ITC's definition of selectively removing vegetation is that they select the vegetation, just like this bush here, very similar to the bush that would have provided cover along my property line. They selectively chose to leave that bush directly underneath their power lines. So the definition of selective vegetation removal is not what a normal homeowner would use. They selected to remove all the vegetation on people's private property and selected to leave similar vegetation untouched, even though that similar vegetation lies directly beneath their power lines. Curious definition of the word selective. As we pan out further, you can see that they have some unfinished business left behind. Again, now we're going past Miss Sally's backyard. We're almost to Chris Becker's yard. You can see the disarray and destruction that they've left in the path all up and down our neighborhood here. You really have to be here in person to get a full appreciation for all of the mawed up tree shreddings that they left behind. It's a good 40-foot path of completely unplantable ground. Kind of like having a bunch of obnoxious teenagers come over. They just left all this mess, and apparently somebody else is supposed to clean it up instead of them. Oh, look. Here's some more evidence, apparently, that they decided to leave behind. I'm 4 houses down, and this, what used to be, I'm sorry, I'm not a good tree bark expert, mature tree. Has blue paint on it. Here's the stump. I'll place my shoe there for an approximation of size. I would say it was a good 3-foot diameter. Might have been an oak. You can see the oak that's a little bit to the east of it. All of these trees had a canopy of about the same size. I don't know if you can appreciate it well, but we're also sort of in a valley here. So the power lines are even that much more higher because I'm a good 15 feet at least below the crest of the hill. Apparently they don't see a need to clean up any of their mess here because it's just mawed up tree disaster everywhere you look. So I'm over here in back of Chris Becker's house here. And you can see he's got a burn barrel and what used to be probably a barbecue or something, like a burn pit. ITC was apparently courteous enough to selectively move that barrel and then place it back into position on Chris's property. It would also appear that they weren't in the mood for selectively moving Chris's cinder blocks and railroad ties and unused lawn chairs, so they selectively marked where I guess they're going to have to selectively come back and actually selectively pay somebody with a chainsaw to selectively finish their path of destruction. It's really kind of curious. You can see how this tree was knocked down and then chewed up vertically because their giant maw machine couldn't shred it like it shredded everything else. So here I am at the crest of the hill. Looking back over Chris's house and then looking back south towards our house. Everywhere you look, it's just complete disregard. They've curiously marked everything with caution tape, apparently fully aware of the fact that leaving a bunch of logs lying perpendicular to the crest of the hill so that it would just take a really good shove and those logs would start rolling down and would probably either damage the car that's sitting in Chris's driveway or possibly roll all the way down to the street and injure anybody who might happen to be doing something as silly as walking their dog down their own street in their own neighborhood. The hill off on the horizon there is Alpine Valley. There's still a little bit of snow. It's probably mostly ice. It's been unusually warm right now. But video probably has a difficult time showing it, but they do have their lights on. It's February 1st, about 5:30 p.m. Looks like they do plan on having people visit. Good for them. They're a good family-owned business. And they're good neighbors.